Welcome back to Palisades Credit Union Park. We go to the bottom of the fifth inning as the Boulders trail the Ottawa champions 2-1. We're talking to Frank Alexander, co-author with Dr. Christopher Ahmad, of course, the Yankees and Boulders team physicians, understanding Tommy John surgery and how to avoid it. And before we went to break, Frank, we were talking about all the pressure that these kids are under today and all the sports they play all different times of the year. And I know you mentioned that might contribute to the phenomenon that's happening right now.
Yeah, these kids are under great pressure, and it's not just internal pressure nowadays. It's also the external factors from coaches and teammates. Then not just to strive to do well, but also to exceed and go to the next level.
As Almonte takes a strike to count 0-1. So, with the book, who is your target? Are you speaking more to kids? Are you talking more to parents? Is it a combination of both?
It's a combination of both, and it's more to open that dialogue between the kids and their parents. The target is the young kids, and it's to open that dialogue and say, hey, I do have elbow pain, I do have shoulder pain, maybe it's time.
Line drive right back to Kurakawa. Dropped it, throws to first. Almonte out, one away.
It's time to open up that dialogue and say, I have elbow pain, I have shoulder pain, maybe this isn't right. And we think about it and we look at all the work that's been done with concussion and recognizing, hey, it's not just getting your bell rung anymore. Now it's a little bit more, hey, I have a serious injury, I need to get this looked at.
We're talking to Frank Alexander, co-author with Dr. Christopher Ahmad of Understanding Tommy John Surgery and How to Avoid It, as Chase Harris grounds it to short. As Collymore throws to first down the line, did they get him? Yep, they did, as Guglietti hung his foot on the back. I guess, Frank, as this game is moving so fast tonight, if there's one message that you want parents or kids to take out of reading this book, what would you say it would be?
It's really to understand and listen to your body. Don't force playing through pain. While it looks, call it tough for guys to play through pain, at such a young level when your body is still developing and you're growing, it's not a good idea, and you can get some serious injuries coming at it long term, too.
As Sanoo Katsuya bats, he's 1 for 2 at 347.
So the biggest thing is listen to your body, don't play through pain. And if you do have something, as the adage goes, see something, say something.
As Rockland trailing Ottawa 2-1, we're in the fifth. There's a weak ground ball, foul. You know, what I wanted to ask, I've always been curious about this because you hear about young pitchers who want to get Tommy John surgery because it adds velocity on their fastball. Is that a misnomer, or is that just a stereotype that's out there? Do you try to discourage that premonition? I mean, how do you approach a conversation like that?
That is one of the biggest misperceptions of Tommy John surgery in and of itself. And I remember even guys when I was in high school and college saying, oh, I need to get this done so I can get an extra 2-3 miles on my velo. And it couldn't be any further from the truth. The reason guys actually can wind up throwing harder after Tommy John is not because you're getting a new ligament. It's because you spent the last year refining your body and refining your craft.
1-2 pitch fouled off third base side.
So these guys, they spend a year, and at the high school and college level, they don't have longer to get ready, and some guys need to be seen. But at the professional level, you see guys getting back at the 14 to 18 month range, and it's because they got to hit milestones at each level. So for them, it's a little bit. They have time. The young kids, unfortunately, don't always have that.
The count 2-2 to Sanoa Katsuya, who had last night's game-winning hit. Boulders trailing Ottawa 2-1. We're in the last of the fifth. Katsuya fires. Actually, Kurakawa fires. Pitch outside. It's 3-2.
I actually had a buddy of mine tell me when his kid turned 16 that he's going to sign him up for Tommy John surgery. I looked at him and I just shook my head. I said, dude, you should know better than that.
So are there instances, not to point the finger at any one person per se, are there instances where, let's say, somebody that age has absolutely nothing wrong with them, and you've encountered conversations where the child and parent might want to come in and get that done to potentially, in their mind, improve the velocity on that fastball?
It's not. We have had that conversation in the office, unfortunately. But there's no surgeon, no orthopedic surgeon out there that would line a kid up for Tommy John surgery if it's not absolutely indicated.
As Ryan Burke leads from first. Throw back. What's the youngest, not necessarily that you or Dr. Ahmad have operated on, but what would you say would be the youngest person you've seen get this kind of procedure?
The youngest person actually was in the office with Dr. Ahmad, and he had a UCL repair, so not the full Tommy John surgery. He had a UCL repair on his 13th birthday.
Wow. Throw back to first. Did he pick him off? Nope. Katsuya lunged back in.
So it was unfortunate. The UCL repair is a different type of surgery compared to traditional Tommy John. Tommy John itself is taking either the palmaris tendon in the wrist or the gracilis tendon out of the knee and transplanting it into the elbow. The UCL repair is more innovative. It's become more popular in recent years. It actually dates back to after Dr. Frank Jobe did the first Tommy John surgery, and who Dr. Ahmad actually studied under as well, the famous Dodgers team doctor that did it on Frank Jobe, on Tommy John himself. But the repair, it takes the native ligament and it kind of acts like a little bit of a seat belt on the native ligament and sutures it right back down to the bone.
Ryan Burke with a big lead from first. Actually, Katsuya, big lead from first. Ryan Burke, the batter. Pitch on the way outside is 1-0. Are you noticing this is just a situation with pitchers now? Are you seeing position players come in too?
The large majority of them are pitchers just because of the repetitive stress, not only to the ligament, but the fatigue throughout a game. But we have seen more position players getting it as well. A little bit more common in like catchers, outfielders, third baseman. Haven't seen too many middle infielders, but it doesn't mean that they're not immune to it.
Sure. I mean, the one name that comes to mind, and you know very well, Didi Gregorius of the Yankees, who had this surgery, right?
Yeah, he did. I think back in October. So the way that he was able to get back a little bit, call it earlier than a pitcher, is he doesn't have to go through a pitching progression. He just has to go through his fielding work rather than just jump right into, and that's it, just in general. Position players, it's a little bit easier to, you don't have to get back through the mound. So that's always, as a position player, if you're going to have it, it's a little bit easier rather than being a pitcher. You got to dedicate that full 12 months to it.
Burke cut and missed as Katsuya faked the steal, the count 1-2. So I guess as we close here, Frank, in terms of young pitchers and trying to prevent a situation where they have to have Tommy John surgery, what's the remedy? Is it a pitch count? Is it not throwing curveballs at such a young age? What do you see? It's
a little bit of everything. It's making sure you have proper arm care with your in-season regimen, making sure you're keeping your arm healthy, doing what we call the throwers 10 exercises, keeping your rotator cuff strong. It's having a good off-season workout, not just focusing on your shoulder and elbow, but also on your hips, your core, your legs. I've started using the analogy, you never hear of a pitcher shouldering the rubber. They always toe the rubber. So why don't we look at the bottom and work our way up and keeping everything strong.
Now the count 1-2 with 2 outs. Rockland down 2-1 in the 5th. Katsuya leads from first. High drive, deep right field, but the park's going to hold it. And the catch made. Frank, you guys do wonderful work. Give my best to Dr. Ahmad. First-class operation. Appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
Frank Alexander, we go to the 6th, 2-1 Ottawa.